I mean, God, for my stuff at home, like I have this one podcasting mic that's literally like 60 quid.
Yeah.
It's just from Amazon, and it does the job fine for podcasting, does the job for radio, does the job for home recording. So,
Is that what you use on the radio as well?
no, so they've got a proper setup in the studio.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
For the intro that I recorded, that was all done on this little mic at home.
Fair.
Which took me about 20 minutes.
I still need to do some for you.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you unlike to any others. I messaged so many people, and everyone was like, yeah, definitely. You know how things go. It's like inviting people to your gig, innit?
Yeah.
Everyone always says, yeah, I'll be there. And then like 10%.
20 quid? Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I remember I had a gig once I think it was in Cardiff, and it was like 3 quid to come in.
Yeah.
And my then girlfriend, she was like fully supportive until I said, I can't get you in for free. And she full on threw a fit about paying £3 to come and see me perform. I was like, I'm literally your other half. Like,
Yeah.
You'd buy me a coffee for £6.
That's the thing. It's almost like that ego. It's like, I know the band member.
Yeah.
I'm not paying. I go backstage.
yeah, exactly. And I remember being in band Aberystwyth, like, the girlfriends would be the roadies. You know, they'd bring in like a cable and get a free gig out of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were exploited. We're exploited in the music industry a lot.
Well, Garin, you are my long-time friend. We've known each other for more than half my life.
More than half of mine now, as of April this year.
Yeah. We met on your 14th
My
birthday.
14th birthday. I remember exactly when. I remember exactly where. It was outside the Ledge Centre in Aberystwyth.
It was.
Walking
With
to the
your then ex.
with my now ex, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been a long time. You're a man of many talents.
Well, thank you very much.
Singer, songwriter, radio presenter now.
Yes, as of May. As of May this year.
Honestly, your radio show is really good.
Thank you.
It's very different to what, you get all the modern music stuff, but you've obviously gone, it's called the Golden Oldies Show.
Yeah.
And there's some songs on there I love, and then there's some songs on there I'm like, how have I not heard this before?
Yeah.
And it's...
Thanks for the input.
Cheers, Shagger.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been amazing just seeing how you've gone from singing with Valley Boys to doing your own stuff to now having your own radio show. So how have you found going from singer-songwriter to radio host?
I mean, with radio was a bit of a funny one because I never wanted to get into media originally.
Okay.
So I went to college in Aberystwyth, and when I was doing my GCSEs, I wasn't really sure what to do after, whether or not to go to college, to go to uni, just go straight into work. And I had a friend at the time who, I'm not sure you know, did you know Grania?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was talking to her about it, and she said, well, why don't you come to college? I'm on the film studies course. We basically eat popcorn, we watch films, and we talk about films all day. And I thought, fuck, that sounds like, that's a nice, easy qualification. You get to watch films and eat shit all day and talk about it, which is like perfect.
Yeah.
So I signed up for the course and got my place in college. And then on my first day, I can't really remember the layout, where it was like film studies in college was kind of down this corridor opposite the drama room. And then media production was kind of here. And we got led into that room instead. And I walked in and I'm like, I'm in the wrong fucking room. Turns out I'd applied for the wrong course. I applied for media production, not media studies. And I was just like, well, I'm here now.
Yeah.
May as well do it. And I just fell in love. I fell completely in love with like film production was my first love, like doing editing specifically. And then that from there just developed into all the other parts of it, soundtracking, music video production, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And finding the ways to bridge the gap, because like I said, I've always been into music, finding the ways to bridge the gap between media production and music production, so music video production, that kind of stuff. And then going to uni, I had a radio and podcasting course with a man called Alec Glynn, who was, I think he was the head of, it was either BBC Wales or Radio Cymru, one or the other. He was the top producer, really, really lovely bloke. And he introduced me to radio production. And that was something like I'd never thought about doing in my life.
Yeah.
I'd always sort of the video production side of things, but I loved like anything to do with audio, fell in love with it. So getting a chance to work in that kind of medium and work in presenting that kind of medium to people was just something I never expected I'd love, but I did. And this would have been now 6 years ago I finished. My God, I've been graduated 6 years. And I started on a radio show in uni, which then pretty much burnt to the ground because the software and the uni radio station just sort of crashed and burned and never recovered. So I stopped after that, but then became a dad. That then pushed things back obviously by a few years, as you do at the start of life. But now Amelia, she's 5 now next month, so I think she's old enough now for me to start looking at that sort of stuff again. So I contacted the head of Radio Card. I've just on a whim, I messaged her on Facebook and I said, any chance you might be free for a call? Like, I wasn't going to do it, but Fraser, my other half, just said, literally, what's the worst that could happen? You message them, they say no. Your life carries on as normal. So I thought, oh yeah, go on, and I'll give her a message. And she was really enthusiastic, specifically about the golden oldies side of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not something you get on the radio at all. You get, like, some radio shows that do, like, some of the old stuff, but it's, especially from your singing background as well, you've covered a lot of those songs, so you have the inside knowledge of it.
That's the thing, yeah. And I mean, I grew up on that kind of music myself. Mum's a massive Elvis fan. You know, my brother and I are named after Elvis and his brother. Yeah. So we've always had Elvis. We've always had the 60s music in our lives. And I naturally, because I've been singing those songs at home with my mum, naturally put them into my set list and then started my own tribute show, which then, like you mentioned earlier, led to me working with the Valley Boys. So all of that side of things that's just always been my life.
Yeah. So with the golden oldies, what is the sort of time frame? Is it 50s to sort of 80s, or is it? What's the time frame?
It's a funny one that as well, because to me, like on the show that I do, it's 50s, 60s, 70s. Okay. So I don't play anything from 1980 onwards. But in doing the research for my first show, it put my life into a bit of perspective, and I realised, Jesus, I'm actually getting a bit older than I thought, because I was looking at like set lists and playlists on Spotify of golden oldies songs to get a bit of inspiration of what kind of things I'd want to play. And there was a playlist with golden oldies throwback hits. I thought, perfect, maybe there'd be like Beach Boys on there, maybe a bit of Frankie Valli, Neil Sedaka, all those classics. And three of the artists I remember were on there was Britney Spears, the Spice Girls, and I think it was Daniel Bedingfield. And those three were like in their prime, 20, 25, 30 years ago. But now there's like kids who those songs would have been massive before, like fully grown adults now were even born.
Like a lot of them might not even heard, like even though some of them are still like relevant in our space.
Yeah.
Kids born in like 2000 and stuff like that would not have even heard of them.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, like there's 18-year-olds now who would have been born in 2006, and the Spice Girls had their first number one like 10 years before that. So to them, they are golden oldies. So.
Yeah, I suppose that is the equivalent of us listening to the 80s music.
Yeah, literally, yeah. I mean, the gap between, like, say, the Temptations in the 60s to, like, us being born in the mid-90s is the same gap between then and now. Yeah. So for those kids, it makes sense for the Spice Girls to be golden oldies. But, yeah, to me, that's still really recent. That's still really modern.
That's modern music to me.
Yeah. So all the stuff that I do is, 50s, 60s, up to 1979. Nothing from 1980 onwards.
Yeah. So how's the reception been of the show? Like, obviously, I've listened to quite a few of them. And you get people from like Canada and like all over the world listening. Yeah. And that's crazy to have like a Cardiff show with that much sort of audience.
Yeah, it's mad because I mean our average sort of weekly listens. We unfortunately don't have stats for individual shows, but the station itself gets about 50,000 listeners a week. Right. Yeah. But we don't know sort of per time. But we know that from countries, there's about 20 maybe different countries. There's some in Africa. There's North America. There's about 8 or 9 countries from mainland Europe who listen. Yeah. So yeah, it's really crazy. But I realised actually how bad my geography is because I mentioned this live on air once. I don't know if you listened to that show, but I had the message coming through about all these different countries while I was doing my show, and I sort of paused and went, "We've just had this information from the manager. Look at all these different countries," and I mentioned, "Holy shit, there's someone from the Ivory Coast. Like, how does like Radio Cardiff?" How does it get all the way down to the Ivory Coast? How is somebody, like, maybe they've got a relative who's from there or whatever, and they've passed it over to them? I don't know. But then I realised after the show finished that my geography shit, and it was actually the Ireland flag, not the Ivory Coast flag that was on there. So I'll admit that on this, because enough time has passed for me to not feel so embarrassed about it. But I full on live on air just went, "Oh, we're in Africa. How cool." We're not. We might be now. I don't know. But it's got quite a good reach, to be fair, for a community station. I mean, the studio itself is probably, it's about the size of the van, maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah. But it's just this one room in like this creative, like, I don't know what you even call it. You know those big storage containers you have on like freight ships and stuff? Oh, yeah. There's this place down in Cardiff, just behind Cardiff Central Station, where there's about 20 of them stacked up like this, and it's just in like one of those rooms in that building. Mad. So it's real like DIY space.
Yeah, because I was going to say, from obviously whenever you go live, you put a photo up on like Instagram and stuff like that. Yeah. And it looks like a really professional setup. Like obviously you'd picture it in sort of a proper studio buildings and everything. So having it in a shipping container, you don't get that at all from the outlay of the
Yeah,
I
mean, the studio itself is in, there's like a main building on the site, and all these containers are with it. Right, but the studio, there's about 10 different businesses on this tiny little corridor that we're on. Yeah. There's like a bakery next door to me. There's some like aromatherapy on the other side. So there's all sorts of these like creative ideas and creative people just blending together, and we're like stuck right in the middle of it. So it's really cool.
Yeah. So do you find that distracts from the show at all? Like when you're personally trying to do something, you might hear like background noise, or is it really you can't hear nothing while you're recording?
Can't hear nothing. And I mean, to be honest with you, when I'm talking, I'm just hearing myself in my headphones.
Yeah.
But when I've got the music playing, I knock it up loud, and I'm distracting them because it's all the songs that I do in my gigs, and I'm singing I'm singing through all of them. So I'm probably really distracting to them, especially for the aromatherapy, because there's a sign outside the door that says, "Please be quiet, therapy in progress." And by now, I haven't quite learned that lesson yet, so maybe I should. I'm just noticing that. Maybe I should take a bit more notice of that sign and give a bit more
Good
respect to
entertainment
it.
for them. Free
Yeah,
entertainment.
exactly.
They can either pay for your gig or go to work.
I tell you
Get
what,
it for free.
that is a problem I've got, though. I mean, I love singing, but this actually happened yesterday. I was out just in Savers in town just buying, like, shaving gel or whatever it was. And Ed Sheeran was playing on the radio, and I was just walking around just singing to myself. And someone was like, "Oh, you're doing this gig you love?" But, like, that's my problem. Everywhere I go, I just can't help myself.
To be honest, that's my wife's first thing she said about you. Cause,
Oh, was it?
When I used to drive you to your gigs, and so you'd stay around mine, and you'd just be walking around the house just singing to yourself, and just like, you'd be going upstairs singing along, and she'd be like, "I just love how whatever he's doing, he's just performing."
Yeah, literally non-stop. I mean, just before you guys picked me up, I had my headphones on. I was learning new songs for my set, and I was in my kitchen, my eyes closed, and like when I'm learning songs for my gigs, I put myself in that zone. I'm not in my kitchen learning a song. I'm on stage in front of like however many people, seeing their reactions, and I know that doesn't really make much sense because I'm gauging a reaction that I'm making up, but that helps me learn a song.
For a reaction, then.
Yeah. So I mean, I was doing that literally 30 seconds before you rang me to say you were outside. And later on, then when I go back, I'll be doing the same thing again until Fraser comes home tonight. And everybody has these little habits, and that's just them. And
they don't realise they're doing this sort of thing. But for you, it's a very good habit to have because you just entertain people 24/7. Then
that's true.
Free promotion for you.
It basically is. Yeah, because I mean. And what's quite nice as well about just sort of tying it back into the radio thing, because I do the Golden Oldies tribute show as a singer, I've started plugging my show. I mean, I did a gig recently with, I know we were talking about this just before we started recording, but I did a gig with Johnny Tudor, who was on Gavin and Stacey a couple of weeks ago in a hall in Dinas Powys. There was, it was Monday afternoon, and it was sold out. It was about 140 odd people, literally on Monday afternoon at 1 o'clock with this hall full of people. It was amazing. But I started plugging the show then, thinking, if you enjoyed these songs, you'll enjoy these ones that I do on Tuesday evenings as well. And it started bringing people in, and I've been doing that sort of everywhere I go. And it's sort of, one of them lends itself to the other. And then when I'm on that show, I can say, I did this song at a gig recently. I'm here soon doing this gig. So they both sort of promote each other, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I think it's just a natural promoter in general, because a lot of people might not necessarily think to do that.
Yeah.
And they'll just be like, oh, very much. Oh, it could be I do a radio show, by the way, and people are just going to be like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, cool. But because you're promoting it in a way that you've enjoyed this, you're going to enjoy this. It's a natural salesman sort of of your own stuff, which is really
like
good.
Not to sort of think of himself as what's his name, Jordan. I can't remember his name, from Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
not to think of myself as the Wolf of Wall Street, but like every opportunity, if you're doing something like that, is a sales opportunity.
Yeah.
It's every opportunity is a networking opportunity, and the same sort of thing as well happened just yesterday. So one of the presenters I listen to a lot is Matt Wilkinson, who does Heart Radio.
Yeah.
And I thought, what's the worst that could happen? I dropped him a message on Instagram and I said, hey, I've just started on radio. Any advice? I use this software. What do you guys use? Any advice for a developing presenter? And in fairness to him, he took the time out to message me back last night, sent me this big thing.
Yeah.
I've been like, well, we use this, but I wouldn't worry so much about that. You can learn that on the job. What I would worry about is A, B, and C. Get those perfected. Best of luck. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that classes as like a foot in the door, but just those little bits here and there. Yeah, at least in future, if like an opportunity does come up, I can message him back and be like, this might not mean anything, might not do anything, but it's still, like you said, it's getting your name out there. It's getting people involved in conversations with you. Because like I said, every opportunity is a sales opportunity if you play it right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've done that with the podcast in general. There's a few guests I've had that they don't know who I am at all. There's nothing, like, I've just messaged them out of nowhere being like, I've started this podcast, do you want to come on? And stuff like that. It's people, they might say no, they might not even open it, but those people who do open it, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, let's have a look what you've done. And then all of a sudden they're on the podcast. So
that's the thing. I mean, like, especially with you in the podcast, like, what's the worst that could happen is a real great mentality for you, because twice now you had Benji Webb from Skinder, you had I can't remember his name, so from Astro Boys
Like
on
Benji
as
Wild.
well.
So four
Yeah.
episodes, 2 Benjis.
Yeah, oh, Benji as well, yeah. So, you've had 2 really successful musicians there who are really well known in Wales and further afield, literally just from sending that one message.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely. And now I've got a radio host. Not because I messaged you, because I've known you for a long time.
Well, I had to free up my schedule. You had to go through my PA and my production team and all sorts to get me on there.
I had to get Fraser to say, yeah, I'll let him go for a bit.
Yeah, you had to go through him. You had to get consent, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. But since I've known you, you've been into music, whatever it is. Like, you were in a band, Static Pink.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah,
phenomenal
yeah.
band. For how old were you? You must have been about 16?
I joined when I was 15, left when I was 17, yeah, so 15, 16,
Yeah,
17.
and you were drumming then, weren't you?
Yeah.
Because your drumming talent is phenomenal. Like,
Oh, thanks, man. I haven't done it for years now. I really miss it.
I still need to get you that.
You
electronic
do,
drum
yeah.
kit,
That was kind of a little hint.
Zach
I miss
Johns.
doing
Yeah.
it. So, yeah.
I was going to bring up today. I was like, it's going to take up a lot of room in the podcast.
Yeah, probably will.
Get
Yeah.
you to do a gig.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, since I mess around on the drums and stuff like that, but just listening to you and your ability to go from drumming to guitar to singing to whatever you do, you just pick it up like that. Is it just hard work, or do you just naturally pick those things up?
It's a good question. I mean, with drums as an example, I started learning when I was 9, and it really was hard at the start. Like, it's been so many years now. It's been 20 years nearly that I've been playing drums. That I struggle to remember the learning process because I've been a learnt drummer. Like, I know obviously every day you can learn to get better, but I've been a proficient enough drummer, let's say, for so many years that I don't remember what it was like to learn those basics.
Yeah, just natural muscle memory and stuff like that.
It literally is, yeah. I mean, there's like songs like I was talking to Fraser about this the other day, but saying how I haven't played drums and must have been now properly in about 6-7 years. I played in a metal covers band in uni, and that was the last I had. But I could pick up a drum, well, not pick up a drum kit, but I could sit at a drum kit now and play like Avenged Sevenfold without thinking, because it's just ingrained. Because it is muscle memory. It's like learning, in one way, it's like learning a dance.
Okay, yeah.
You're moving your arms at the right time on the song, you're moving your arms to the right sort of tempo, you're doing the right movements to the right places. And you do the one song so many times, you don't even think, oh, I need to go over there now with that hand to that cymbal, or you need to go to that tom or to that snare or whatever, that beat. So eventually it does just get ingrained like some sort of choreography routine. Yeah,
because with drumming, each lib is doing something completely different.
Yeah.
And just having that, like, for me when I was learning, getting over that was the hardest bit, because, if this arm's suddenly doing 3 beats, my foot's going to want to do 3 beats or something like that, so getting over that was the hardest bit for me.
Yeah.
And then I'd see you play and I'd be like, I'm shit.
I mean, it's not even that you're shit, it's just that we've had different levels of development and progress. It's just that maybe where I would have been after a couple of years, that might just be where you are now. And now that I've stopped, now's your time to catch up.
Yeah, I stopped a long time ago.
Yeah, but I remember once, one of the main, like, commendations I guess I've had, not to sound like up my own ass, but I had a gig once as a drummer and lead singer at the same time. I played for a pop punk band in Cardiff, and our lead singer dropped out. I think it was nerves.
Okay.
Our last singer had quit, and we had this replacement singer, and we got to the gig, we set up and sound checked, and literally like 10 minutes before stage, she was like, guys, I can't fucking do this. The room's full, and I'm scared shitless, I've never sung before.
No.
And we were just like, too late now.
You're in the deep end now, bro.
Yeah. You got your parachute on, shove you out the plane, and it's too fucking late. But then I realised that I knew all the songs, like, as a singer, so I said, do you know what? Fuck it, I'll do it then. So I did the entire, like, it was only a support slot, thankfully, it wasn't a headline gig, it was only like 20, 25 minutes. But, like, the rock show, remember, by Blink-182, doing that, drumming that, and singing that as lead vocal at the same time, doing all the fills and all the fast stuff. Fucking hell. I've never been so exhausted in my life, and I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, that's the thing with breathing techniques while you're singing, and then also gassing yourself out, literally doing a full body exercise.
Yeah.
That's a tough gig to do.
It was.
That's really tough. Yeah.
But I remember, you mentioned Static Pink then, so bring it back to that. We did a charity gig once for... Did you know Jazz Jones, who's my like college best friend? She was April's older sister.
Yes. Yeah.
So we did a fundraiser for April's family, and some other charity in Argoch Theatre in Aberystwyth.
That's April Jones, is it?
Yeah. We did a charity fundraiser for them, for their family, for the April Jones Memorial Fund. And because we were called Static Pink, obviously pink was April's favourite colour, so we all dressed in pink that night.
Yeah.
But the only pink thing that I had was a full, like, thick, like, bunny onesie. And doing, like, all these, like, fast like Blink covers and pop punk songs
Yeah.
in a hot theatre with all these hot stage lights in this onesie that's like 3 times thicker than what I'm wearing now. My God, people say you make sacrifices for art and you make sacrifices for your craft. And Jesus Christ, I felt it that night.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. And I just imagine the amount of sweat and everything in that suit. You're just there like, please get me off the stage.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though. What was nice about drumming is it's natural, well, easy exercise.
Oh yeah.
Because like I'm not the kind of person who does a lot of exercise, to be totally honest. I've collectively probably spent about 45 minutes in gym in my entire life, and that's over the course of about 10 years. But drumming, I used to drum like 4 hours a day every single day, and I used to be like that.
Yeah,
it was lovely.
I mean, just to be fair, even recently you've lost a lot of weight, and that's just through dieting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I started putting a little bit back on, but I lost a total of just under 2 stone, I think it was altogether.
That's really good.
Because this picture's like when my daughter was born. Was just before COVID, and obviously during COVID, no one went anywhere. Everyone just sat on their asses all day. And there's a picture of me and her when she turned 6 months. She's on my lap, and my God, my stomach's like out to there.
Really?
Yeah, my stomach was out to there. My beard was like, you've got a long beard, but it actually looks good. Mine was like stick of the dump, and my hair was just all wild. I look homeless, and like this homeless fat man sitting at home, and I looked awful, like horrendous. So I'm glad to be in a place now where like I could probably just lose a little bit more. I've still got a bit of a belly on me, but I'm definitely in a place now where I feel much better about myself.
Yeah, as long as you're comfortable with yourself, like
if
you're
exactly.
not trying to enter triathlons and things like that. As long as you're happy with your appearance, like who cares?
Yeah, I'm just gonna notice that there's a wasp on the door. Did I ever tell you about my I've got like a serious phobia of wasps, so I'm gonna try and stay calm.
There was a wasp who just landed on me a second ago. I was just trying to stay as still as possible.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
To change the topic completely, about where my phobia of wasps came from.
I kind of remember, but I don't at the same time.
It's a good story. So when I was, up until I was 6, I lived just outside of Aberystwyth in a little bit called Penryncoch. Yeah. And there's woods there, which funny enough, now the workplace I work for now is responsible for the woods, so it's all come full circle. But when I was about 4 or 5, my mum set up a treasure hunt in the woods. I did all these clues and said, go down this path, there's a tree that looks like this, and under that tree you'll find this box of chocolates or whatever. And we found all these chocolates, and coming out of the woods, I looked over to a bush, and I noticed the last box, and might be like Twixes or something in it, and I jumped in to get it. My mum, when she put it in there, didn't realise that at the bottom of that bush was a nest. And I landed on top of the nest, and they all came out. Might have been 100, 150 of them all swarmed out, and I got covered. Like literally, they're all through my hair, down my top, in my trousers, and my pants, and everything. Jesus. And I distinctly remember I was wearing a black jumper, plain black jumper, and my mum just heard me scream. She turned around, and my jumper was bright yellow, literally everywhere. Jeez. They were all over me, and that was near enough 25 years ago now, and
he knows you're afraid.
He does.
Get him out.
He can sense my fear. My throat is exposed. But yeah, so that was 25 years ago, and a quarter of a century ago, and like I'm better because like earlier in my life,
that wasp would have slapped you in the eye.
I would have full on been running out of here screaming. We were in Canada for my cousin's wedding about 8 years ago. I went out for dinner with my parents. Because Canada's a nice warm country. We were out in the middle of the summer. We were sat outside having food. And a wasp came and landed on the table. It was nowhere near me. It was like maybe this kind of distance away from me. Landed by my dad's plate or my mum's plate or someone else. And I'd flown. I pegged it outside, and halfway down the street, my dad had to bring me back. But like I used to be like deathly afraid to the point where like I couldn't even look at one 15 feet away without running off.
Yeah.
So I'm getting better.
I mean, that's a fair phobia to have when you've gone through that.
Yeah, I'd say so. But yeah, God, that's that one and open water, like the sea, are the only two I've really ever had. Yeah.
To be fair, the sea, I love going in the sea with like paddleboard or whatever. But when I'm on the paddleboard or like if I fall out and I'm deeper than my body, I wouldn't have a freak out, but I'd definitely be like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, that it's probably a little fear, but not a wasp.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I wouldn't say I've got any particular fear. I don't like spiders.
Right.
But again, if a spider was on the wall, I'd be like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Spiders are a weird one for me because like I used to be more scared of them than I was of wasps. I used to be like deathly terrified of spiders, but like I kind of just woke up one morning and that fear was gone.
Okay.
Like the other night, when was I was home alone, and it was maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. I was up in the middle of the night because I'm always up because of my diabetes. I'm always up. I'm spacewalking at 3 a.m.
You're type 1 diabetes, isn't it?
Type 1, yeah. And I went to get some food because I had a low blood sugar at like 3, 4 a.m. Coming back up the stairs to go to bed, and there was a spider on the stairs that I was this close to standing on. Probably must have been about that big.
Yeah.
Huge, big, brown thing. And like I mentioned earlier on with my progression of phobia with wasps, my thing with spiders, about 10 years ago, I would have been like, holy fuck. But now I just sort of went, spider. I went to bed, I left him there.
I've always said, like, with spiders, like, I had one in the wing mirror there,
Yeah.
and he would just chill out, have a web on there, and then all of a sudden a wasp came into the van, and I was like, oh, fuck's sake, flinging him out.
Yeah.
And I swear, I saw him turn around to go sting me, and he just got stuck in the web. I was like, I fucking love that spider. That spider saved my life.
That's the thing, they come in handy. They're like the nature's pest controllers, aren't they?
Exactly.
So they're a lot cheaper than pest control companies.
So obviously, back to your music and everything like
Yeah.
that. So, what is your favourite genre to play? Because obviously you play a wide range. You go from metal, punk, obviously the classics, like, and you do a lot of country now as well.
I mean, when you say what's my favourite to play, do you mean in terms of like to play at home, to listen to, or to perform?
Well, let's go for both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to play at home, I changed with the weather, which in Wales changes a lot. But like I could go from like Dolly Parton to Cattle Decapitation in like 20 seconds, like 2 or 3 songs, and then to ABBA to like Tom Jones to Lewis Capaldi. I don't think I have in terms of a listener a favourite genre. It used to be metal. Like people say, don't they, but that like the music you start exploring at age like 14 is the music that will define the rest of your life, and that's definitely true because there's been bands that have come and gone in my life that I've loved for a little bit, and then they've gone, then they've been replaced by another band, and then they've gone. But the bands I discovered at that age have always been like my favourites ever since. Like Avenged Sevenfold, I mentioned earlier, was one of them. Bands like Lamb of God.
Yeah.
Iron Maiden. So a lot of metal. Metal is definitely the most defining genre, I guess, in my life, which if you were to come see me perform, you'd never expect.
Yeah.
I don't do any of that. I barely sing any like hard pop, let alone rock or metal. So as a listener, now it's definitely fluid, I guess, if you like.
Yeah.
But metal was definitely the most sort of defining one as a listener. But as a singer, definitely the oldies.
Okay.
Because I've naturally got quite a high voice, so the oldies are kind of known, especially in male singers, for like a lot of falsetto, a lot of like obviously everyone knows Frankie Valli and the Sherry Biggles on Cry Walk Like a Man, all that stuff with all the really high singing, and I've just naturally had that ability. Yeah. So it's just naturally been, and I've always, like I mentioned earlier, I've always liked that kind of music. So those two things just so naturally came together, because I've just sung that just when I'm doing the dishes or whatever, or just as the days go on, I've just naturally been able to do that kind of singing, and over the years that's just become really easy to me. So as a singer, that's my favourite one to sing because it's the easiest. It's not the easiest one to sing overall. There's definitely easier genres too. So like country is quite easy to sing because it doesn't take a lot of power. You've got
to throw a little bit of that twang in there.
Just a little bit of that twang, yeah. But as a singer, because this is going to sound really arrogant. I'm going to put a disclaimer out there because I'm not an arrogant person. I do think I am quite modest. Thanks. But what's quite nice about the oldie stuff is because like it's been a skill that I've learned over my entire singing life. And it is now, like I mentioned, it's quite an easy thing for me to do. But to those who, especially those who like are taken down memory lane and they're getting a bit nostalgic from it, they find that kind of singing quite impressive. Yeah. Because it's not a common kind of thing for a man to be able to sing like that. So it's nice to be able to sing something like that so confidently, while also still sounding quite impressive, if that makes sense. Yeah. Whereas, like, to me, country singing, not to shit on it at all, but like it's just my own personal taste. I don't find country singing like that impressive as a style.
I think it depends on the voice. Like, for me, like, you got some country singers that, they've got that American twang, and I think it's just that American twang that make it sound good. But then you've got some singers like Luke Combs, for example. Mm-hmm. His voice is very unique to him. Yeah, definitely. So that range he has in country, I think, makes it a lot more impressive than just, say, I don't know how to really say it without... That's the thing, it's a difficult thing to explain, because like, I feel like I've just been kind of shitting on country in the last 30 seconds, which is not what I mean to do. I was going to say, we're both big country fans as well. So. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we've had those road trips to like some like gigs, we've sung country the whole way there and the whole way back, haven't we? And obviously, when I sang at your wedding, I did a little bit of... Did I do country? Actually, think about it. trying to think now. I think you did a mixture of a few things. I think because I'll throw a disclaimer out there. I pussied out of this. So me and you were going to sing out my wedding.
Yes, we were. Yeah.
And I messaged you maybe 2-3 days before. I was like,
Ain't
I
doing
can't
it.
do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Man. I'm pussying out for this.
Yeah.
And for me, I think obviously I've never performed in front of a crowd anyway. So just to do it at my wedding, I was like, it could be really good or really shit.
Yeah. But then the benefit of that, because it's your wedding day, if it's shit, no one cares.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck it. Don't say nothing bad. It's my wedding day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're just gonna love the fact that the groom's got up there to sing. So you've got to get it at your free card.
It's one of those. It's definitely a regret, but I think I would have been in my head too much about it.
Yeah, makes
so
sense.
it is what it is. But when you then, obviously, I think you must have sung about 5-6 songs,
something like that.
and then you did a little speech at the end, and that was beautiful as well.
Yeah.
So yeah. We very.
I remember. What did I say now? I said that. I always remember, my birthday, because obviously we mentioned earlier on, like my birthday's the day that we met, so that's a very important anniversary in our lives.
Every year, just.
So I was saying that it's a shame now that our anniversary's been put to second place and yours and Meg's has come first. So
Well, we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens next year. Yeah, next June, isn't it? Yeah, June.
June the 8th.
June the 8th. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a nice day, though, wasn't it?
It was a really,
Really nice day.
good day.
And your wedding day was alright as well. I'm talking about the day that we met. That was a nice day.
That was a nice day. It was always beautiful weather when we meet.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, today's not too bad. To be fair, it said it was going to be pissing down. And
My God.
It would be an interesting pod to have in the rain because you can have a little bit in the
would.
background. But
It should have come down here on Friday night, right? My God, I love a storm.
I love it.
I love a good storm. And Friday night, it was right above my house. Like the thunder cracked like right on top of my roof. And like I mentioned, I love a storm, but that was the first like crack of thunder where I thought, fuck, I'm gonna die. It was so loud. It was literally right above me. The lightning was right outside. So it was strange. I've never been afraid of storms, but that one. Actually, no, there was another one in COVID. I remember this because it was the night before we went away to Saundersfoot for a weekend, and the night before we had this massive storm, no rain or anything, so it was like dead silent outside, but like the thunder and the lightning was so frequent. It was like every 10 seconds.
yeah.
I genuinely thought for a second, holy fuck, the rapture's here. we're all gonna die. We're never gonna get out of our homes again. And now the sky's opening up and hell's breaking loose. So that was one that I'd been set back by. But yeah, generally I love a storm. But what I don't understand, that you get those storm chasers.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
I don't understand that.
In the UK, I get it because you might get struck by lightning. Stuff.
Yeah,
in America, you see these people
a patio
driving.
chair might get knocked over in the wind. Yeah.
You go to America and they're just like, I'm just going to drive through this tornado. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, when you got people's houses going 100 feet up in the sky and cows flying around and stuff.
I think the worst one I've had, it was when I was on my motorbike and I was just driving back from my mates and I just hear thunder and I look in my rearview mirror and I see the lightning behind me.
Oh God.
I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
And then I'm driving along and there's a big field, probably the size of this field, and I just see this lightning just strike a tree. Must have been about 50 yards away and I was like, oh fuck. I'm not in the right vehicle for this.
Yeah, you're not, yeah. Well, you survived. And you've got a story to tell now.
I did shit myself a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
But no, it's one of those. It's the adrenaline behind it. I was like, that was sick, but I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously, you say you naturally been able to sing quite high. Mm-hmm. The one that I do love, it was in your Valley Boys gigs and now your radio show. You got the tight pants section.
Yeah.
And again, for me, it's really impressive because if I tried to sing that high, it ain't coming out. It's just going to sound like, the dogs will hear it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, again, with that, is it a natural thing that's just come to you, or have you just found little techniques to make it come out a lot better?
Good question. It's probably a bit of both. I mean, I've naturally been able to sing higher, but you don't sing to that kind of level without also further pushing that thing. It definitely helps to already have that physical advantage. Because everyone's voices are so different. Not everyone's voice will be able, regardless of how much you train, to sing in that kind of style. Same as I could never sing opera, for example, or proper musical theatre. Okay. I'm just not able to. And same sort of thing with this. So I've always had the ability, but it's definitely been pushed along by learning. I've never had training.
I suppose because you've listened to it your whole life, as a little kid, you're just singing along to it, so you naturally... Yeah. Because you're naturally doing it, and you've practiced it, not because you're practicing, but because you're just singing along to what your mum's listening to, what your dad's listening to.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like I mentioned earlier on, it's always been a thing in my life, and I've always sort of sung along to it subconsciously, where I've my body's just naturally taught me, if you want to sing it that way, do it this way. Yeah. And it's kind of been a thing that I've taught myself without even thinking. Same sort of thing with drums. It's been so many years now that I don't remember how I learnt those techniques. So it's always just been something that's been ingrained, I guess.
Yeah, because the one thing you taught me was it's the snake through the mouth, pushing a snake through your mouth.
That's it, yeah. So that was a technique that I learned from my friend Rachel, she's a vocal instructor in the Rhondda Valley. And it's if you want to hold, like, say you've got a long note at the end of a phrase, and particularly if it's a long phrase, you've got to obviously save all your breath for that one last note. The way to sort of hold that note out, you picture yourself opening your mouth wide, letting that note out, and the note, you sort of envision it as a snake.
Yeah.
And you just let that snake out as long as you possibly can, let its whole body out of your mouth and let it go.
Yeah, because right at the end when you need to have that like sort of boom, isn't it? You can just, okay, whatever's left in my mouth, bang, there we go. It's
basically,
out.
Yeah. It sounds really, really weird, but like, Fraser and I talk about, because Fraser's a singer as well, and that's how we met, is on the singing circuit, and we talk about like singing techniques and what helps with that. And he's always, whenever he learns new songs, he learns, because he does a lot of like, very different style to me, he does a lot of riffs, so a lot of up and down jumping here and there, and he visualizes the vocals. So when he's learning a song, he can see the patterns of going up and down like this, he can see the notation, because he's classically trained, he can see the notes in his field of vision, I guess, and that's how he learns to sing. And like we've always talked about like these individual like little quips that everyone's got to learn different songs. Like one that I learned as well was, it sounds really, really weird. On stage, a little secret, if I'm holding a note, particularly if it's a high note and I want to keep the note quite steady and straight, because especially if you're holding a high note, it's hard to sort of not make it sound like you're quivering, you know,
wavy
like wavy cattle on the hob. I had a lesson once from an instructor who said, clench your bum cheeks. Which sounds really, really strange, but if you clench it, you feel this kind of like tension in your stomach, that helps you sort of maintain the notes somehow.
Okay.
I have no idea how that works, but in half of my gigs, thank God the audience is in front of me and not behind, because they'd just be seeing me sort of do this.
I'm going to watch you every time now.
Yeah, you're going to come to me.
He's clenching.
Yeah. Although that might look weird considering like half the gigs I do in like social clubs and workies halls and stuff, and then there's me on stage and there's just some bloke behind me just looking like this. Clenching.
Nice.
There he goes again. On again. Yeah.
I was going to say, because when I come to see your gigs, you know, it's kind of like the roadie with you guys, because sometimes I'll go in the crowd, film a bit, and then sometimes I'll just be like, I'm just going to chill in the dressing room. And to be fair, the rest of the guys who were in the Valley Boys with you, so you had Dale, I'm trying to think, David?
David, yeah.
And who was the other guy? He was like one of the main ones.
Andrew,
yeah. And those guys are great, to be honest.
Yeah. And there was Ricky as well, sorry to interrupt.
Ricky as well, because it was weird when I went to the first one and Ricky came up. I was like, I fucking know this guy.
Yeah, you went to the same gym in Swansea, wasn't it?
Yeah. But with Dale, he is a proper like Welsh lad, you know. He looks like a builder sort of thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's just proper tight pants section. Like,
yeah, strange. And it's the same with like, you know, the rest of the boys. Like Di works in like theatre schools, and he works with, and he does like singing pretty much full time. He does his own tribute show to Neil Sedaka, so he is always involved in that world. Andrew works with kids in a talent agency for films and stuff. But Dale and me, like I said, he worked for like British Gas or someone. Then now he works for Welsh Water doing operational stuff. You know, I work for Welsh Government, and it's funny how like you got two completely different kind of people. Yeah, like between your off-stage persona and your on-stage persona. Yeah. Because people have said to me, "Oh, do you do this full time?" And I go, "No, I work in customer service." And they like, "How the fuck? You're like Jekyll and Hyde." Yeah. But I kind of see like singing on stage as kind of like you're a different person. Your on-stage person and your off-stage person are two entirely different people. Like the confidence of the on-stage person and the approachability of that person, I guess. Like I try and be the same person off stage, but they are absolutely two separate entities. And to me, not to de-glamorize the singer, because I'm lucky to be able to do it, but like it's like two different jobs. Yeah, and it is the job at the end of the day. You know, not to sort of shit on the experiences that I've had, because I've had some amazing experiences so far. But it's definitely it's just another workplace. So, and that's the kind of
I've seen you personally, like especially with your solo stuff. You'll be doing a gig over here, and then you got like half an hour, and then you got to do a gig over here, and then they're not short gigs.
No, definitely not.
The fact that you can not strain your voice and carry it throughout, and do an entire weekend of that is really impressive as well.
I had when was it now? End of May. I sang at a wedding. I did a country wedding.
Yes, you did.
In Llantrisant, doing sort of acoustic stuff for this couple, and went straight from there to Tonopandi and did a 2.5 hour show. Yeah. 3 sets just by myself. And then I went out there the following day and did another 2 hours. And there's some days where like that works really well. There's some days where my voice is on fire. Like the first gig is like the warm up, and then the second gig and the third gig are like the so the pinnacle of where my voice is good. But then there's other gigs where like I've had a few, like I had a 5-gig weekend once.
Jeez.
And I fucked my voice on like the third song of the second gig, and the rest of them was just torture.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if that happened, do you have to have a long period of time off then just to recover your voice?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't used to because I didn't used to smoke.
Fair
Well,
enough.
I mean, I did, and then I quit for a good few years, and now I'm smoking again. But when I wasn't smoking, I could have those like 5 gigs. I'd go to bed on like the Sunday night, and by the Monday afternoon, my voice is back. Whereas now, it's probably, I mean, it's normally back within about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
But there's definitely been times. I remember in November of last year, I think I had COVID. I never had tested for it, but I think I had COVID. Pretty bad. Fraser and I both. And it took me a good 6 weeks before I could sing properly again. I did do a gig in the middle of all that somehow. Stupid idea, but it took ages and ages and ages just to recover. And it probably was a result of me being ill, but it could have been the smoking, it could have been winter, everyone's ill in winter. But yeah, it's almost like random. Some gigs are you recover in 2 seconds, some gigs you recover in 2 days, some in 2 weeks. It doesn't ever seem to be a pattern with it. It's really strange.
You went through something recently, I think it was just after my wedding in June, where you were literally like, your throat closed up. And
Yeah, God.
what was that called? Because when you said it to me, I was like, what the fuck is that? I've never heard
Yeah,
that in my life.
it's called quinsy.
Quinsy, that's
which
the
is
one.
like severe tonsillitis, like as fuck.
Yeah.
And funny enough, it was my last gig with the Valley Boys.
Yeah.
It was the same night. So again, at a wedding in Aberystwyth, because Dale wasn't there that night, so I took on lead vocals. It was me, Andrew, and Ricky, and I was doing all the high stuff and leading the guys for the night. And then 6 hours later, I was like on the floor in A&E, clutching my throat because I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, because I just remember you being like, just so you know, I've been rushed into hospital. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and honestly, besides my diagnosis for type 1 diabetes, like it was the most painful experience of my life. It was fucking horrible. Like it started off just as a little bit of a sore throat, which I get every now and again, especially because of singing. And I thought, maybe it's just that. And then it got so bad that I couldn't eat. Like in that day, before going to the gig, I had maybe half a bowl of like noodles from Spoons, and at the wedding I had a slice of pizza. It took me 20 minutes to eat the one slice because I literally just couldn't swallow. It was so painful. Yeah, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. And then I went to bed that night in agony, couldn't sleep, and literally woke up at about 3 a.m. I could not breathe. So I had to run downstairs and pound my dad's bedroom door to wake him up. And I couldn't even talk.
You were back in Aber for that as well then?
Back in Aber, yeah.
Okay, I thought you were, because you got rushed to Carmarthen, didn't you?
Yeah, so I got down to Bronglife Hospital in Aber, and they did a once-over and said, we can't treat you here, you got to go to Carmarthen. So they put me in the back of an ambulance, and off I went. And yeah, spent the day then and the night in Carmarthen Hospital, which was an interesting experience. It's really strange. Like, there seems to be a bit of a curse. With me going away to Aber, there seems to be a bit of a curse with hospital visits. Because, like, same thing happened with Amelia.
Yeah, because that's when she got diagnosed with diabetes as well, isn't it?
Yeah, last summer. Yeah, we went there just for like 2 or 3 days. And she fell ill. Well, she was ill for a few weeks before then, but the climax of the illness, I guess, if you like, happened while we were there. And ironically, she was diagnosed on the same ward by the same doctor that I had, just 15 years apart.
Yeah. That's mad, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing with Aber. It's such a small place that it's almost like deja vu when you're growing up there. You go back and you're just like, I've lived this, like when I was a kid.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously your daughter's 5 now. Turning 5?
Turning 5, yeah, in about 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just can't believe how long, like, when I first met her, it feels like yesterday, and then I came over to yours, and she's like a grown person.
Literally, it's terrifying.
It is, yeah, they grow up far too fast.
It's amazing, like, seeing her go through all these different phases, and seeing her do all these achievements. Like, now she's, like, learning to read, learning to write, and, bless her, she melted me the other day, a couple of weeks ago now. She got in trouble for, I can't remember what, something that a 4-year-old does. I can't remember what it was now, but I sent her to her room and said, just go upstairs, think about what you've done, come back down in half an hour, then we'll talk. And she came back down half an hour later with a handwritten note to say sorry. She'd written on this thing saying, Dad, I'm sorry, I love you, on this piece of paper. I'd never told her to write that, but she's just become this person who, like, will just think of those things. And the fact that she can think of those things and put them to paper now, I'm just like, how the fuck did I make that? Like, how did I make someone like that? It's really strange, because, like, in my head, no matter how old she is, I still see a baby girl.
Yeah,
I still see her like a day old in my arms, and I think I will for the rest of her life. And I've told her, like, you're banned from growing. I will put you in a clamp if you carry on.
Yeah.
I'm being serious. Stop. And she laughs at it, but I'm getting her a clamp for her 5th birthday. She won't be laughing then. But like, it's really strange. Like I mentioned, obviously I'm seeing her go through these phases, and I'm seeing her grow up literally in front of my eyes. But I'm still seeing her as a tiny little girl, and I will forever probably.
Yeah, definitely. Because how much would you say being a dad has changed you now? Because to be fair, you were always a very responsible young man. In front of closed doors.
Yeah.
In front of open doors.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors, no, never. No, you've always been that responsible guy in the sense of, if you're at a party or something, you're going to look after people, whatever. You're not that just reckless like guy who's just going to be like, I'm going to drive when I'm fucked off or whatever,
Yeah.
So it's not like all that responsibility has come out of nowhere, if you get what I mean. But would you say it's changed you at all? Like, in the sense of, now it is, oh shit, I got responsibilities.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's put a lot of things into perspective, because, I mean, I was quite a young dad. I just turned 23 when she was born, which is, for people like now, it probably is quite young. That might have been quite common like 50, 60 years ago to be young parents, but people tend to have kids in their maybe early to mid-30s now.
It's either 16 or 30s now.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I was 23, and my then partner was 22. 22 when she got pregnant. So we were quite young parents, but I feel like you mentioned about like the whole like feeling quite a responsible thing, and I think that kind of ties in with me and like my diabetes. I've always had to be responsible for a lot of important, really serious shit to do with my health. So having that kind of natural ability, because I've had to be very responsible in that aspect of my life, has kind of helped me be a responsible person ready for parenting. But it's definitely put a lot of things into perspective, where I think maybe because I was so young, I still kind of had that bit of a childlike teenage mentality about life. The things of like trivial shit that really doesn't matter. Maybe into early adulthood, you might still think it matters more than you should, and you still worry about stupid stuff. But I kind of changed my perspective and made me realise it's pointless worrying about that. You can't change that scenario. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You've got a little girl who's happy and healthy. She got a roof over her head. The rest of it don't matter. Like one of my favorite sayings is, "The rest is confetti," which is from the Haunting of Hill House, which is I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there's 5 siblings, and one of them dies at the very start, so it's not a spoiler. And they all they meet her ghost later on in the story, and she talks about like how they all raised her and they all looked after her, and nothing else matters because the rest is confetti. And I use that for everything, and I use that in context of Amelia as well, where the only thing that matters to me now, well, not the only thing, but the most important thing is that she's happy, she's healthy, she knows that she's got a loving parent, and the rest is confetti. So it's definitely changed my priorities, put it that way. Because my priorities used to be, this has got to be done that way, that's got to be done that way. I used to be quite methodical, quite like X, Y, and Z got to be done in certain ways. But since being a dad, I've kind of realised life is fluid.
Yeah.
Life can be one thing in 1 minute and then a complete other thing the next minute. As long as you've got those priorities straight, the rest can just do whatever it wants. Like, as long as she's always cared for, always loved, and is always looked after, which she always will be, nothing else really matters in terms of the logistics. So that's definitely helped me realise not to be so serious about shit all the time.
Yeah,
Because I don't think now, I mean, you can vouch for this, I hope, but like, when it comes to it, I can be serious about the things I need to be serious about. But generally, I'm not that a serious person. I just don't care about the more serious stuff.
It's one of those with you. It's we can have a serious conversation. Like obviously, if you don't mind me saying, I can always cut out. But obviously, when you came out as gay, we had that conversation. It was sort of tough at the time for you, but I feel like you just sort of got very comfortable with whatever is going on. But we were able to have that conversation. Still crack jokes and stuff like that. But in general, it's just have a good time. We're just very much like, whatever we're doing, whether it's going to gigs, weddings, whatever we're doing, let's just have a good time. But we can still have that serious conversation.
Yeah, you're right. And like, particularly on that note about me coming out, that was a bit of a strange result, because like, I feel like there's this expectation, particularly like from other people who think that coming out has got to be this big moment. Yeah. And I don't think it was even when I told you.
I mean, you kind of, it's one of those with you. It was, you kind of told me like, oh, I got something to talk about, but I'll tell you in person, sort of thing. Because it's fair enough. But it wasn't like a big issue. You obviously, you know me. I don't care if you come out or
Yeah.
whatever. I'm there for you. But it wasn't like a big celebration for you, really. If it, not a celebration, because obviously it was, but it wasn't a big.
But it wasn't at the same time, because like I didn't necessarily feel like, and that was on me as well. I didn't feel there was anything to celebrate, because as as proud as I am to be who I am, I don't feel that it's such a big thing that it warrants a celebration. It warrants support, because there's undoubtedly people out there who don't like the fact that I've come out, who will always disagree and think that I'm a filthy sinner or whatever. There's always going to be people like that, and I've accepted that as fact. Between now and my last breath, I'm never going to be on everyone's side, and not everyone is going to like me for who I am, and that's absolutely fine. I couldn't care less. But generally, I don't think it has something to be celebrated, at least not here, because overall, I've got a pretty good life.
Yeah.
And, people
like
me.
you said, I mean, with Amelia being your main priority, she's obviously, she loves Fraser. You guys are great. Even if she was a bit older, I don't think she would have been affected by it at all, because it's the same as if a parent went through a divorce later on down in life, it's going to affect them regardless. But now you've got that at a young age, it's sort of, she can grow up accepting people for who they are as well.
Yeah, I was thinking that, because I grew up in a normal family, I guess, if you like, a mum and a dad, siblings. I didn't grow up, obviously Amelia's going to be growing up in a family where her mum and dad are separate and her dad's with another man, so her setup is a little bit different. But I grew up in the traditional household, if you like, but as far as I'm aware, I was never taught tolerance by my parents. I was never, not taught it. They are tolerant people and they're lovely people, but it was never something that they actively said, right, you've got to treat, ethnic minorities this way, you've got to treat gay people this way, make sure that you treat, Muslims this way, anything like that. I was never actively taught that as a kid. It was just something that we all just naturally did.
For me, I think it's a natural human thing to do that. It's when, if you're taught, okay, you got to be respectful of this minority, blah blah blah, then it's almost like well, why wouldn't I be? Or it creates the question in your head. Yeah, and that's where the issues come from.
Exactly.
Wrong, but...
Yeah, because next door to us, there's another gay couple who have a little girl. Who is 2 years older than Amelia, so really similar setup. And I'm talking to them about it, and we've kind of said, I've asked them, have you had that conversation with your girl? I don't want to mention her name, but with your daughter, have you had the conversation? They said, no, we haven't, because we don't see the point. And I kind of think the same, because the second you make a point of having that conversation about it, that sets them out. It
makes it a bigger deal than it really
exactly.
Is. Yeah.
It makes it a thing when it doesn't need to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those in schools and stuff, you might get kids saying certain things that could say something, but especially in our age now, I don't think that's really, because there's so many other topics that are being raised around it. It's that's not even a conversation that kids are going to even pick up on or anything like
exactly. And I mean, I came out as bisexual originally when I was 15.
I was going to say, because I've always known you, well, near enough always known you as bisexual anyway.
Yeah, so I came out about a year after we met, and even then, really, reception was pretty normal for the most part. I had a couple of issues, but nothing major. And that was 15 years ago. And
that's weird to say.
Yeah, was it 15?
Well,
13 years ago. Yeah, 13 years. So near enough 15. But the reception even then was absolutely fine. Generally, like I mentioned earlier on, no matter what, comments are always going to be made by someone. Yeah, you're never going to please everybody, and it's the same thing as now. And
I'm a straight white male, and I still get
comments.
Yeah. So it's going to happen to whoever, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that didn't bother me then. It doesn't bother me now. But the point I'm making is that even all those years ago, it was all right.
Yeah,
it was fine. So now, I don't even think Fraser and I, for example, we picked up Amelia from school together. We've talked to her teachers, and there's been no eyes from anyone. There's been no questions, but nothing. And I think we're at that point now where it's just become just
the norm.
Which is why, to sort of tie into what you said, that's why I didn't feel there was anything to be celebrated when I came out.
Yeah.
Because when I came out to my parents, we were in Spain because I'd had not to go into detail, but as you know personally, I had quite a rough year last year. And Mum and Dad were going to Spain just for a quick, long weekend getaway. And they said, why don't you just come with us? Just the three of us will go away for a few days. Just have a bit of a breathing space and you can reset your life then and when you come back. And I said, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And when we were out in Spain, I came out to them then. And I'll never forget the responses. So my mother's response was she rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, fucking finally." And
That's the exact response I was expecting from her.
yeah,
It's like, we know.
and my dad's response was, "That's great, but can you pass me the salt, please? Because we were having dinner." And then we just carried on talking about, like, you know, what should we do after food? Do you want to go for a drink? You know, what do you want to do tomorrow? And that's all it took, was me just telling them the truth.
Yeah.
And it was done in 2 seconds, and that's the way I want it. Like, I don't want... I know people make this, like, big deal about coming out sometimes, and it means a lot to some people, so I'm not shitting on anyone else at all. Your experience is your own experience, but for me personally, like, I couldn't care less about the fact that I am who I am. Like, I don't care enough to make a point about it. It's like, it sounds like a bit of a weird comparison, but like when I tell people I'm type 1 diabetic, I get a lot of, "You don't look diabetic." "You don't look it." "Are you sure?" And it's the same sort of thing with, like, being gay. Like, I've had a couple of people at my gigs, because I travel a lot with a friend of mine called Beth, who sort of helps me with, like, the roadie stuff, and she films a few of my songs. And a lot of people have asked, "Oh, is this your girlfriend?" Have asked me, "Is this your girlfriend? Is that your boyfriend?" And I've said, "No, I'm actually gay. I've got a boyfriend." And they go, "You don't look gay. You don't act it." I know what they mean.
I think, especially in the older generation, they picture gay as that, like, flamboyant camp sort of
the garage door,
over the top sort of thing. Yeah. So I think for that generation in general, it's, unless you are that, they just assume, oh, he's straight or whatever it is. But I think for the younger generations in general, it's just like, you know, there's a lot of people who, you know, obviously there's non-binary and stuff like that going on, and it's a struggle for some people to not accept it, but get their head around it, because that's, again, a newer thing in our generation. But with being gay, it's sort of ingrained in the norm now anyway.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I like I said, when you came out to me, well, I suppose you didn't even, came out to me, I suppose. Again, it was very much like the same as your mum, where it was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was, yeah. But it turned out that a lot of people, well, I say a lot, I can think of 3 people, including my mum, who all said the same thing. They all said, "Oh, fucking finally." So more people knew than I did, which is an interesting one.
I think, especially because you came out as bi 13 years ago, it's kind of just like, there's no difference between being bi and being gay, really. It's just one less thing you want to be with.
Yeah, and I guess that maybe is why, like, it didn't feel like that big a deal. It's because if I was, like, completely straight and then all of a sudden, "Oh, no, I'm actually gay," that's a whole shift. So that I can understand being a bit more of a shock. But yeah, because I was already halfway over the bridge. All I did was land on the other side, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, that is something that I've thankfully not experienced this, but I've read a lot of people who are bi get a lot of, like, internalized homophobia from within the gay community, where people thinking, "I'll just pick a side," which is bizarre to me.
For me, that doesn't make sense. Not that it makes sense either way, but it makes more sense to be bi, because it's just, you like whatever you like. Like, why is that an issue? Why do you have to just want one thing?
Yeah.
Like, it makes more sense for everyone to sort of just be like, "I'll have whatever."
Yeah, and, you know, I had that question asked of me when I was out, before I came out as gay. When I was out as bisexual, someone asked me, "But how do you know you like guys when you've never been with one?" And I was like, well, you know, you don't like the idea of eating, like, mouldy steak, even though you've never eaten it. You know for a fact that that's not an interest of yours. You know that, you know, this juicy sushi or whatever from this most expensive restaurant in Japan looks really tasty, and you might want to try some. You've never eaten it before, but you're still interested in trying it. And it might be, that's a really silly analogy, I know, but, like, but the point is, like, you haven't got to have to experience something to know you want to experience it.
Yeah, you're going to get home and Fraser's going to be like, "Why are you comparing me to sushi?"
Yeah, exactly. Are you trying to do an impression of Fraser?
No, that's just my generic Welsh. Although Fraser does not sound like that at all.
No, he doesn't, no. Yeah. But, yeah, like, that happened a good few times where people would ask me, you know, "How do you know you like that if you haven't actually experienced it before?" And I'm like, but everyone has to like the idea of something first to go and try it.
Yeah.
And that's as valid as anything else. So that was a question I had a good few times, which I always thought was really weird.
I think, for me, I think questioning or having conversations with, like, yourself and things like that are really good if you're not around sort of anyone apart from, like, yourself.
Yeah.
So asking questions can be great, so people's ignorance can be sort of wiped away.
Yeah.
But I think there's some questions or, like, some prodding that is just unnecessary.
Like what?
Like you said, you know, it's how do you know you like this? Or, like, you know, it's more of not a question in the sense of, like,
It's not for the purposes of learning.
It's not. Yeah, it's not for the purpose of learning. It's just a poke or a prod or like a jab. If you know what I mean. It's just like, oh, well, how do you know this? It's like, because I do. Well, what's it to you?
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, and you find a lot that other people act entitled to your own private business.
Yeah.
But then it's really strange. It's the same people who don't want you to make your private business public. It's like, for example, with like say pride parades and stuff, you get all these comments, people saying, "Oh, we don't want that in the public shoved in our faces." But these are the same people that are asking those intrusive questions.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, would you want to know about it or not?
Yeah.
Like there's maybe what I'm going to say, we'll cut out the actual thing because I don't want that to go on the internet. But just to explain, like my perspective, like I personally don't agree with Pride as a parade. I won't be taking the media to neither would Fraser because I don't understand the sort of weird in-betweenness of it, where like on the one hand you've got people saying it's a family-friendly event, while also welcoming like men in their 70s in leather whips and chains and stuff.
The thing is for me, my perspective, there is a difference between your sexuality and sexualizing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, if you want to go down the road waving your flag, being happy with who you are, great. But it's like if you're in fishnet stockings and got your cock out or whatever,
Yeah.
It's like, well, why do you need to do that? It's again, like, why do you need to make it such a big deal that you've come out, if you get what I mean?
And that's the thing, you mentioned about like the fishnet stockings and whapping your cock. I haven't got a problem with that at all. Just in the right space.
Yeah, exactly.
You might have like an adult-only event where men will come in fishnets and they'll do this and all this kink stuff, and that I think is absolutely fine.
I think the difference would be if I went onto the street as a straight man and was in fishnet stockings and whapping my cock out, it'd be an issue. But because it's in the Pride event, it doesn't make it any better.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. But the difficult thing with it as well, and it's an interesting one, like for me personally, not that anyone should really be labelled a bigot if they're not, but for me, who it's clearly not, because I'm gay, so I can't be homophobic. It'd be weird. But I would still get called a bigot for expressing that kind of view in the public space, which is really, really strange. I got into an argument with someone on Facebook because Pride in Caerphilly happened in June, and someone was talking about, it might be a straight person, I don't know, was talking about like how they didn't want to take their kids because of X, Y, and Z. And I said, well, funny enough, even though I'm a gay parent, I completely agree. But even then, I still got criticised by like virtue signaling warriors on the internet who will try and shut you down for having any kind of controversial opinion. But like, it's really strange how you'd think, not to put myself on a pedestal, but you'd think that someone in my situation might know a bit more about what it's like to be in that situation, so would have a bit more of a voice.
Validate your own opinion in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like, I'd been called a bigot before for not wanting to expose my now 4-year-old child to a man in bondage leather stuff.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier on, I don't see any problem at all with anyone of any age, as long as they're an adult, in that kind of environment. You want to wear the leather, you want to wear the leather. You want to cross-dress and put on a wig and call yourself whatever, then absolutely fine. Just in the right space. Yeah. That's the only issue I've got. Is do it in the right space so that you can then actually label Pride as a family-friendly event, and kids can come to it knowing it's a safe place within. They're not going to be exposed to over-sexualization, and then those adults are not going to be judged because they do it in their private spaces. It's a win-win, and they still get to do what they want to do. Yeah. Kids can still come as they want to address it as a kids-friendly event. So I don't know.
I think people immediately take that as. It's the whole, I'm okay with what you do as long as I don't have to see it. It's like, it's not that at all. It's safeguarding those children from seeing, like, if you had a video of that, it would be classed as like a 15 rated or whatever. It would be, because it's, it's not, wouldn't be classed as an 18 or whatever. But you wouldn't show a 4-year-old that. If it was like a 15-year-old horror film or whatever, or 15 plus sort of thing. You wouldn't show a 4-year-old that horror movie, or whatever it is, or, if it's an action movie, you wouldn't show them because it's got blood and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So why is it in person that you would be able to show them that, if you get what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a difficult thing at the minute, is I don't know if you find the same, with like when it comes to disagreements about those sorts of things, if you're on the wrong side of it, you get shut down instantly,
well,
and I hate
instantly
that.
Get put as like a conservative right-winger or something like that. It's not a political view at all. Like.
It's not, and the thing is, even if you are a conservative right-winger, I don't agree with it then either, because I'm really not. I'm not conservative or right-wing in any means. But I hate the thought of like anyone who is conservative and right wing being shut down just because they're conservative and right wing.
Yeah, I mean, my stance is, I'm very much in the middle. I agree with some policies that right wingers say. I agree with policies that left wingers say. But as soon as I agree with one or the other, you get attacked by the other side. Then so it's like, oh, I agree with what the left are saying here. Oh, you lefty, whatever, And then as soon as you agree with what the right say, it's like, oh, you're a bigot. You want to close all the borders. You're a racist. It's like, I just said I think we should support the fucking benefit scheme or whatever on the right side. It's like, no, you're a racist. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that's why I don't know. I don't agree with all of his views, but there's social commentators on YouTube who've been quite a rise, and a lot of them are on the right wing side of things. So I don't agree with all their views at all. But there's people like don't know if you know Charlie Kirk, for example.
Oh yeah.
So he does these.
He's an American guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, and he does talks at college campuses where he just says, let's have a debate.
Yeah.
We will disagree, but the point is we want to talk about it. We just want an open conversation, and I love that. Even if I completely disagree with some of his views on a lot of different issues, but the fact that he will go out there and talk to people who are opposite to him, that to me is just common sense.
I think that's the issue with where especially social media comes into place now. As soon as someone disagrees with you, can't talk to them. I'm not even going to acknowledge they exist. It's like, at the end of the day, if you can't talk to people who you disagree with, you can't have a democracy.
Yeah,
so whatever
exactly.
side of the stance you're on, whether you're left or right, you're not a democracy then, because you're refusing to even acknowledge them.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make sense for me.
No, same.
That's why I say I'm always in the middle, because there's policies I disagree with on the right, there's policies I disagree with on the left. So why would I just be like, well, I mostly agree with these guys, so I'm going to choose them, or I mostly agree with these, I'm going to choose them. It's like, why choose?
And
what's the point?
And I know we've shifted onto politics, which I'm not. In all honesty, I'm not that well versed in.
No,
so there isn't much I can say.
I'm an idiot when it comes to politics.
I'm completely if my brother was here, he was invited to do a PhD in international politics for Swansea Uni, so he knows his shit. But you never get him to stop. This podcast would be a week long. But the one thing is for me personally, because same as you, I agree with some on the left, some on the right, and some centrist politics. Because I can see the whole sort of spectrum, it's hard to know who to pick. Yeah. So, because I didn't know who to pick, I didn't vote in this last election, for example. Not because I wanted to make any kind of protest or any kind of point, but just because there's one point I agree with from that party and not the rest, and same with that party and not the rest of their manifesto. Same with that party, one or two policies I agree with, but not the rest of their manifesto. So I didn't believe in any of them enough, or agree with any of them enough to pick that one overall. So it was either vote for them all, or don't vote for any. So it was a really, really weird situation to be in. This is the first time I've kind of felt like that, because I've always been very clear of no, I'm on the left, I'll vote for this one party. But that's kind of been a bit of a shift. I've gone through a lot of shifts in the last year and a half, and that's been another one again, is that one.
You've changed sides on all aspects now.
Basically. So I'll be, a right-wing flamboyant gay by the end of this interview.
Bring on Farage and your fishnet stockings now.
Bring on Nigella Farage and the fishnets.
But going back, let's get away from politics then.
Yeah, let's get away from that. Because I'm drinking water here. There's no alcohol in there. So.
We're just going from we always have fun. We don't really take things seriously. Let's talk about politics.
Let's talk about politics and left and right. Yeah.
So obviously, your radio show. How long have you been doing the Golden Oldies now?
Since May, so 4 months now.
It's been 4 months already.
It's been 4 months. Yeah, May 14th is my first one. Yeah.
So obviously you do that every Tuesday at the moment.
Yeah.
Did you want to do more days in the future, or is it just sort of take what you can sort of get at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, for now, I'll take what I get, because this community radio, it's unpaid, it's voluntary work, and if I didn't need the money, then I'd happily do it every day.
Yeah.
But the way I'm kind of seeing it is, as much as I love Donna, who's the manager of the station, as much as I love her, and as much as I love working with the rest of the guys on the team there, and as much as I love presenting on that station, that's not my end goal.
No.
The point of that station, for me personally, is a stepping stone. It's my little trumpet to get.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a catalogue of what you've done, and obviously what you do is very good quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, when if you wanted to progress into, I don't know, Heart or whatever, you've got a platform to be like, this is what I've done.
That's the thing. Yeah, essentially, when I'm treating it as portfolio building.
Yeah.
It's portfolio building and it's experience building, because there's, I think. From doing the podcasting, and I started podcasting myself at home for a little bit, doing that and then doing the radio assignments and stuff in uni, working with Alec Glynn, and the little bit of experience I had of the uni radio station before it burnt to a crisp. was all little things that I'd picked up along the way, and now I'm really getting a chance to put all that together into one big amalgamated mess and make some sense of it.
Yeah.
And I think I've been able to pick that up pretty quickly. And to fuck modesty for a second, feel like I'm going from strength to strength with it, and I'm getting much better as each week comes along. So I think I've got a good portfolio on the way, and I've got a good amount of content that I can send off to these other stations, like Heart or Capital or whoever I end up working for. But yeah, the way I want to see it is, it's a stepping stone. It's a bridge to bigger things.
Yeah,
so
definitely. I mean,
we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, because obviously, well, to be fair, I'm never able to catch it live because it's always at the worst point for me because I'm just getting home or I'm just leaving work. So you always send it to me recorded the day after, and I'll listen to it and work the next day. And like I said, that from the first, second, third to where you are now is already like a massive progression anyway. So I think your confidence has always been there.
Yeah.
You're very confident. Nice buggy there. You've always been a really confident person with what you do, but with radio as well, there's so much technical things that you have to do with like the board, and I would struggle with that personally because it's just like going from song to not forgetting to turn your mic off.
Yeah.
And just different things like that, I think is the progression from first to now is massive already.
Yeah, thank you. And I think with that, there's a lot of responsibilities because you're doing it live and you're broadcasting to an audience of a good few thousand, so there's definite pressures. But I think doing like live singing and doing my own sound at my own gigs has definitely helped with that because I've had experience of, talking and adjusting the music as I'm talking and, oh shit, that song isn't playing. What do we do? Scramble quickly to get this one playing instead. I've had that at my gigs so many times.
Yeah.
No gig is 100% smooth, but you learn after so many years how to manage it smoothly and make it look as if it's never happened. And so that experience has helped me to pick up on these little things that happen on air, because every show that I do on air, I'm not going to point out the mistakes I make, obviously, but every show will have something that's gone wrong in some way or another, because you only learn through your mistakes. And that still happens now, but I'm getting to the point where I've learned how to recover from those mistakes to such a point where no one would ever notice.
Yeah.
In the studio, it's a whole different experience, because I'm sat there doing this and going, fuck.
That's the thing.
All that sort of stuff, but...
You've got to be able to work on the fly, and we've experienced it on this podcast. Pretty much every episode has had a mountain of mistakes, what I've personally made. And, luckily for us, we can fix it in post.
Yeah.
But when you're live on radio, if you lose your head, you're gone for the rest of the day.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
I think
there's definite pressures to it. And that was the scary thing when I did my first one. But it's really strange because, I mentioned earlier on, so we broadcast, say, about maybe 50,000 people. But I'm at the studio on my own. There's no producers there, there's no managers there, and I'm normally not there with any friends or family or anything, so there's literally just me in a room. So that can be really, really strange to think I'm speaking to thousands of people, but I'm literally sat in a box by myself.
Yeah, I suppose in a way you can think of it as I'm just recording this to put it out later or something,
Yeah.
So in a way, it's not a massive sort of, oh my god, there's 50,000 people out there.
Yeah, although, do you know, ironically, it kind of works in the opposite for me.
Okay.
Because I'm sat there in a room on my own, but I picture all these people in front of me. Because I try and picture it like I'm speaking to an audience at a gig. Because obviously you want to connect with every individual member of the audience. You when you perform, unless you're doing a musical, obviously you don't talk to the audience there, but at a gig you connect with everybody, or at least you try and put some effort in to connect with everybody as best you can. I try and do the same with my show, where even though I'm talking generally into a mic and that's going out to all these people and everyone's hearing the same thing, I want everyone who's listening to think I'm just talking to them.
Yeah.
So I try and visualize. I make up people in my head sometimes. Maybe I might picture like you and Meg or people I know sat in the studio in front of me or whatever, and I'm looking around the room, looking people in the eye. As weird as it sounds, obviously they're not there, but I picture them there, and that makes it so much easier to sound like I'm having a conversation.
Yeah.
Because the thing I think I found difficult to adjust to is because I've come from a podcasting background. Is there's a big difference between podcast presenting and radio presenting. Yeah. Because podcast presenting can be a bit more tone-wise, not sort of chilled out, but it's not as direct.
Yeah, I mean it's casual compared to with radio presenting. It's more professional, sort of like it. You're almost you're acting to the part. Where a podcast I find is just. I'm just going to be me, I'm just going to lounge around, here we go, let's have a conversation if you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're more performing on the radio than in a podcast where you just sort of, especially when we've known each other for so long, it just flows. Shoot the shit.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess with podcasting, I guess if it's when we've got guests on, it's about the guests, isn't it? So they take the bulk of the content, I suppose, and they make most of the content. So you've got a nice, easy job today.
I've got a lovely job.
But then with radio, unless you've got a guest on, like it's all on you, so you've got to do all of that in one. But it's been really fun. Like I really enjoy having all the responsibility because I can be a little bit of a control freak when it comes to creative management. Like obviously I work with Static Pink, like I mentioned earlier on, but I've done solo work for 10 years now, and I'd much rather work on my own.
Okay.
So
you don't have to rely on those people. You'd never. Yeah. The only time something's going to go wrong is if it's your fault, sort of thing. So
exactly.
You can have that personal responsibility.
And I can learn from my own mistakes. I can't learn from somebody else's.
Yeah.
So like doing the radio show, like I do all the production for it. I do all the scripts. I do all the cues. I do all the playlists. I do all the research, and I do all the little bits here and there as the show goes on. And I love that because I'm in full control. I know where everything is, I know where everything goes, and I know if this happens, then that can happen instead. You know, I know how to pick up on things here and there. So the thought of like doing all that by myself was really intimidating to start with because it was so new and I'm just learning on my own. I've got no one else to rely on. But in practice, since getting used to it, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Because I'm in full control of everything.
Yeah, I mean, so with your radio show, how much work has to go into each sort of show? Do you have to do... Obviously, you've got to plan what songs are going to happen and everything like that. How much planning does go into that, though? Like,
so it can change sort of week by week because it depends on what's going on the following week. But I've got to give myself a good few days. Like, it takes me... If I'm just doing the show start to finish in one day, it might take me 3-4 hours to plan the whole set list, playlist, and do all the different bits of content, plan the different segments, do all the research. But if I'm not sort of rushing last minute, which is what I do all the time, and I probably will be doing it again this week, but if I'm actually taking my time and being sensible about it can take me a good 2-3 days sometimes, because there's parts of the show where, like, I write, I do the research and I find these interesting bits and I talk about them, but then there's parts of the show where people respond to me and I've got to actually go out and get those answers and get them back, and that can take a good few days to ask the question, get responses, collate all the responses, pick the best ones, and then format it well. So it depends on how prepared you are. If you're well prepared, then or if I'm well prepared, I should say, it can take me a good 2 or 3 days to take my time with it. But if I'm really rushing, it can take me, even rushing last minute can still take me a good 3-4 hours. So I finish work at 5 o'clock, go straight into, like, I might have a bit of food and then start planning my show for 5:30. I'll be done then by 9:30. So as it's getting late, so it can take a good long time. The most difficult thing, though, I found, isn't writing the different segments. It's the playlist.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I try not to do the same song twice, and the difficult thing is for someone like me who loves that era so much. There's so many thousands of songs that I want to play, but then I'm just like, well, how do I choose that one over this one? How do I choose that one over this one? And I try and do it methodically, where I might have one like genre in one particular section, and then I think, okay, well, I've done a bit too much of that now, so it's got to be this genre next, and then that genre next, and those little bits have got to flow well, so it's planning the right playlist without repeating songs that are just as good as each other, but also work in that same sort of flowed format. Okay. So that can be a real headache, picking the right ones.
I mean, even putting together a playlist for a road trip, I'm just like, fuck.
I'll let you in, if you want to one day, I can show you exactly what I do from start to finish, and you can co-produce it a week with me if you want. If you want a bit of experience on that.
I mean, I'll give it a go, but I'll fuck it. So obviously this is coming from a guy who's never worked in radio or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So when it comes...
if I could, can I just pause for a second, because I really need a piss?
Of course you can.
And then remember that question. Sorry, what was your question?
Well, we're back, mate. So from a guy who doesn't know anything about radio, working in the studio or nothing, what are the sort of legalities around like permission to use the songs? Is it, because obviously if I was to use something on YouTube, it'd be copywritten. Mm-hmm. So what's the side of radio? Are you allowed to use just whatever you want, or is there certain catalogs?
I got to be honest, I'm not 100% sure of the licensing stuff. I know that we're licensed on our station to use any song from anywhere.
Well, okay, so it's probably like something you sort of the radio as a whole would pay, and then you can just sort of use any catalogue sort of thing.
Yeah, so we're properly regulated by Ofcom, who regulate all radio and like all broadcast industry stuff, whether that's Radio 1 or BBC 1, all the way down to us in Radio Cardiff. They regulate everything. And I think maybe got licensing from them, consent from them to use any license, because we don't make any money from it.
Right. Okay, yeah.
I think the station itself gets sort of funding from... I can't remember who. But the station is funded enough to keep operating. Yeah. But none of us get paid for working this. So because it's on a volunteer basis, I'm not making any money from playing the Temptations. Obviously, if I was getting paid to play their music, on sort of live broadcast, then there's probably some licensing thing there, which mean I can't do that without specific consent or specific licensing that you need to pay for. But because it's on a volunteer basis, I think there's a clause or an exemption there somewhere that means I can, which is great because it means that I mentioned earlier on the difficult thing about the song choice being one of the hardest things to plan, but it's great at the same time because it means I can pick any song I want. That's really useful because there's songs that are like in the public domain now, because I think after a song has been released for, is it 70 years or 90 years, something like that, after it's been out for that many years, it becomes public property.
Yeah, I think it might be different with music to like movies and stuff like that. But
it might be movies I'm thinking of.
Because I know I think it's 100 years. 100, right. I think because
it's all copyright law.
Yeah, because I think. Like, no, you're just going to see a load of Mickey Mouse fucking horror films and everything.
Yeah, they did Winnie the Pooh, didn't they, recently?
Yeah, because they've been up for so long that, anyone can use it now.
Yeah.
So that might be the new intro song.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, other than that, though, mate, thank you for coming. I hope you didn't get too wet.
No, it's fine. I mean, I got quite lucky. I mean... We chose this spot because of the view, didn't we, earlier on?
Yeah, we got all of our sheep outside watching us.
We did, but then the clouds and the rain came in and we got the view cut off, but it's fine, we've got a view here, so...
What can I say?
But just before we finished, though, I realised I brought a bag with me, didn't I, for you guys? And because I wanted to bribe you, didn't I,
all right.
to make sure that I'm put at number one in terms of, like, the episode you promote the most, the best guest award and all these things. So I wanted to make sure that I definitely got that one. So I got... And I would partake in these, but speaking a bit about being diabetic, I've left my insulin at home. Okay. So these are just for you two to enjoy on your road trips.
Well, that's very kind.
But these are mine.
They're the ones I wanted.
Well, they're actually for my diabetes, so they're mine in case of emergency. I brought them with me just in case, like, something from passing out in the middle of the episode. So
yeah, that's a good shout to be fair.
Yeah.
Well, Garin, thank you so much, mate. Obviously, pleasure to always see you.
And you, thank you.
And we're probably just going to shoot some shit when we go home now.
Yeah, fab. Lovely. Sounds good.
Yeah, well, mate. Thank you very much, pal.
Cheers. Thank you.